Hello, and welcome to another episode of Row House Presents, where we are helping you sort through all of the content and films that are out there. This week we are going to discuss Teen Wolf, The Blue Angel, Paths of Glory, and The Traitor. My name is Delana Obermeyer, and I am a programmer here at Row House Cinema.
My name is Brian Mendelssohn. I'm also a programmer here at Row House Cinema. Come on now. So Teen Wolf is a movie from 1985 starring Michael J. Fox, filmed by some director I don't really care about. Michael J. Fox, pretty early on in the film, finds out he's part wolf. He goes on to become the rock star of the school because how cool is it to have a wolf boy be at your school? Let's watch some amazing scenes from this film.
I'm sick of being so average. And it's not just basketball. It's this school. It's this town. It's everything.
I like Beacon Town.
I just like my life to change. Talking about the wolf styles. I can't do it anymore. You saw what happened.
Scott, what are you, crazy?
Yeah, I think maybe I am.
Teen Wolf is a movie I saw when I was a kid. I didn't, I'm sure it was fine. I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox is awesome. And then you're like, let's watch Teen Wolf. And I was like, sure. That movie sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks.
Yeah.
Like, really.
That was so bad.
Like, it's not even so bad. It's
Yeah.
good. It's just bad. Like,
Yeah.
it's just boring. Like, it's
Yeah.
it has a great premise. It's got a great cast. It's it should be a great, like, fun teen sex comedy with, like, a twist. Because, having a werewolf or being a werewolf as an allegory for puberty is something that is seen a bunch in werewolf films. Like, that is like a theme.
The thick werewolf genre that's out there.
There is. It's true. So,
Besides Twilight, of course.
Yeah. This is just like, he becomes a wolf, and it's great. Like,
It's so cool.
It's so awesome. Everybody loves it. Nobody makes fun of
Not
him.
one person freaks out about the fact that this kid becomes a wolf.
Right. And you just look like a werewolf, and not even a scary one. It's like a Sasquatch-looking werewolf.
Yeah.
Like, this is like
Some bad
Harry and the
prosthetics.
Hendersons, like,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So
Oh my God.
I went on to, like, IMDb and Letterboxd, like, after this, looking at everybody loves this movie.
Yeah.
People love this movie.
This movie made a lot of money.
I'm sure it's a nostalgia thing for some people, but
Yeah.
but to me, when he first changes into a wolf in that first basketball scene, and he just starts going with it, and people are just going wild, like, that's funny. Like, that's a funny scene.
That was the only
That
part
was
of the movie I actually
hilarious.
liked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
Like,
that was it.
But that's because that's the joke. That's it. And so
Yeah.
once they do that part, they're like, oh man, what do we do now? There's nowhere to go from there, and it just doesn't go anywhere from there.
Yeah, Poof added a little bit of a redeeming. His pseudo girlfriend's name is
Yeah.
Poof, and
Boof. Yeah.
and she added a little bit of redemption for the movie for me. Like, she was okay,
Yeah.
and like I kept on thinking, like, you could do better than Michael J. Fox.
So at one point, the bully is actually 20 years old and was locked away in jail for like 3 or 4 years or whatever. At one point, when him and Michael J. Fox are fighting, he makes some comment that he was the one that, like, killed Michael J. Fox's mom.
It's like they wanted to go dark with this movie, and then they tested it out with some test group, and they didn't like that angle, so you just cut it. They just edited it all out, but then they're stuck with this movie of where's the mom?
Yeah, no, that movie truly terrible.
So my opinion is this is a movie that has no characters that are worth remembering. A little bit Boof's okay. The dialogue's terrible. The plot development's terrible. It's terrible. Don't watch this movie. It's a waste of your time. And if you want a good 80s comedy movies, there's so many better choices.
I pretty much agree with all of that, and would definitely say if you're looking for a good puberty werewolf movie, highly recommend Ginger Snaps. It's funny in a very, 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 very different way.
Yeah.
But if you like some morbid teenage girls being werewolves and have it being a metaphor for periods, then you can watch that instead.
Awesome.
So don't bother.
No good.
Yeah.
Well, this movie is streaming on Hoopla, which is available for free through the Carnegie Library if you have a library card, which you should.
Next, we have a classic, quite old. Actually, it's its 90th anniversary this year, and that is The Blue Angel. Came out in 1930. German film by Joseph von Sternberg, and it stars Marlene Dietrich, the great, as well as Emil Jannings, a famous silent film actor. Jannings plays a local college professor that is very uptight, well-to-do. He discovers one day that his students are all obsessed with a local burlesque cabaret performer, Lola, played by Dietrich. Jannings ends up going to the club. He himself ends up falling for her, quite literally having to perform as a clown to make up for his destructive lust for Lola that he eventually ends up marrying, but it's just sort of a whole destructive downfall of a man. So yeah, we'll watch some clips from that.
Heraus mit der Wahrheit.
Die anderen sitzen jede Nacht im Blauen Engel mit Frauenzimmern.
Nimm dich in Acht vor blonden Frauen. Sie haben so etwas Gewisses. Es ist ihnen nicht gleich anzuschauen. Aber irgendetwas ist es. Ein kleines Blickgeplänkel sei erlaubt dir. Doch denke immer, Achtung vor dem Raubtier.
I initially chose for us to watch this because I love Marlene Dietrich. I hadn't seen this specific one before, and I knew that this was kind of the one that made her famous, so I picked it pretty much expecting lots of Marlene Dietrich, and there is plenty of that in this film, but there was not nearly as much as I wanted there to be, so it was a little hard to keep my attention at times.
This is Germany's first talkie full-length movie. There is a story that this was based off of. A bourgeois man could fall to the depths of a proletariat just as easy.
Right.
There's no true separation of class other than where you just happen to be born into.
Right.
The making of this film, they got away from that a lot.
Yeah.
You don't get any of those class tones or any of that kind of stuff.
Oh, I thought it was more of an indictment of like lust or something. Like it just felt like a sort of like scolding kind of like, you shouldn't have stared at the woman showing off her ankles, like,
But I mean, like, okay, I'm glad you say that because it's like, what is this movie trying to say?
It's so muddled. I can see elements of that, like, there's not far to fall, like, from the top kind of elements, I guess. But yeah, it seems like they kind of wash that out. She usually plays somebody with a lot of power and a lot of sex. And this movie, I felt she was lacking the power and the agency that her characters often have in other films. And I think that that's a lot of the appeal to her. And so I think just by nature of her being in sort of a, and she still has a commanding presence when she's on stage and everything, but her off-stage persona in the film is...
matter of fact. It's kind of...
Yeah, and like she has power, but really only over the main character. Like it's not.
Well, this is her first acting gig ever.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. There are parts of this film that are really interesting and like just as an artifact. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought the most interesting thing to me was that right off the bat, I knew it was 1930, but I thought talkies were around for a few years before this. But clearly, they had no idea how to make not a silent film. Sound films are there's orchestra music playing the entire time.
Right. Oh yeah. There's so much dead air in this.
Yeah, and then they fill it with random noises.
Yeah, you're getting to see somebody like play with that element of film.
Yeah, and
like,
I like
as
that
they're
argument.
trying it out. Like,
that's a good argument.
Yeah.
And the main actor, Emil, was a sound actor, and he plays it like a sound actor, and it's really rough to watch. Actually,
I can appreciate it. I didn't enjoy watching it.
It was like it was like a film school class.
It's a homework. It's a homework watch.
And you could see why none of the silent actors made it into the sound era.
Right.
None of them did, really.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to see an early talkie, M.
Yes, M, for sure. M I enjoy watching, and it has all the interesting things that are in this as well.
Well, what's a Dietrich movie you would recommend then?
The Scarlet Empress. That is, I believe that's also von Sternberg. I believe it's also the same director as...
I think he was in love with her, or they
Probably.
might have had a thing. I'm not sure.
Maybe his muse, yeah. But I would recommend this film if you are interested in the homework, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend this film for anyone unless if you want to, understand that transition between silent film and talkie or modern film.
The Blue Angel is available to stream on Fandor, or you can rent it on Amazon.
Next up, we got Stanley Kubrick's 1957 classic Paths of Glory, starring Kirk Douglas, who plays a colonel in the French army. Setting is World War I, trench warfare, where the French army is battling the German army. This film starts off with a big general saying that Kirk Douglas's unit must go and try to take a German position. That goes very poorly. The French general wants to cover his butt and decides to put up 3 men in Kirk's army to be sacrificed, if you will, for the good morale of the troops and be tried for cowardice, which of course is punishable by death. In classic Kubrick style, 2 halves. First half is the war scenes, and the second half is more of a trial drama, almost. Like he becomes a lawyer. Yeah. So let's watch a few scenes from this film.
Well, I've tried to create a pleasant atmosphere in which to work.
Well, you've succeeded marvelously. I wish I had your taste in carpet.
Colonel, your regiment is going to take the anthill tomorrow.
You know the condition of my men, sir.
Oh, naturally, men are going to have to be killed. Possibly a lot of them. They absorb bullets and shrapnel. And by doing so, make it possible for others to get through.
Supposing you're killed, then where will I be?
You'll be in front of a firing squad tomorrow morning. That's where you'll be.
This might have been the movie that put him on the map of being one of the greats.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Oh, really?
Which is crazy. And so this is my first time watching it, and I've always wanted to watch it. And I love Kirk Douglas, and he just lived to 155.
Yeah.
I mean, I love this movie. It was not a movie I expected it to be.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like, it ended up being a courtroom drama, and I did not.
Almost like a civil rights, almost like courtroom, like just like courtroom drama. Yeah.
Like, I couldn't tell what I think about this movie. It makes you think about the World War I. It makes you think about how class divides really work between the rich and the poor. I mean, the scenes where the generals are living these incredibly lavish lives, and that's a drastic difference between being on the front lines of World War I.
Paths of Glory is not what I expected at all. And it's more interesting than a lot of World War I movies I think we get even today.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think this is way better than, like, War Horse or something like that. Like, and after, World War II, and during, there's definitely a push of those sort of, like, feel-good kind of, we're American, like, and I mean, I know that this is about French and he was making this in the UK and everything, but I just think that the fact that, it's critical of war and the officer class and all these things, and while this is the first film that definitely made like Kubrick, like he had made other feature films before this, but I think this is definitely the first one where you feel like this is a Kubrick film.
It's funny, when I think back about this movie though, I remember everything about the first half. I don't remember much about the second half. I don't know why that is.
I think the second half I mostly remember, like, Kirk Douglas is who I remember. And then, like, the first half I remember, like, the film overall. It's like the tracking, the Kubrick tracking shots, like the long take tracking shots that you get in this movie. He really starts to, like, those through the trenches.
Oh,
like,
yeah. I haven't seen 1917 yet, so I'm curious on how much of that's just ripped off of this.
I haven't seen that either, yeah.
And the sets that they built, like when they were going into the no man's land, incredible. Like, so well done. It's beautiful.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think Kubrick is definitely one who, like you were saying, he always has those 2-part movies, and I think there's always definitely a stronger half than the other, or a stronger bit than the other, The biggest
regret I have is seeing this on my laptop as opposed to seeing it in a theater. I kind of would love to see this in a movie theater. I mean, I do in surround sound, which doesn't exist, but in 1957. But, all right, pick one Kubrick.
One Kubrick?
On a desert island.
It's 2001. It's always 2001.
Really?
Yeah. That's like, I feel like that's Kubrick at his most Kubrick-y. So, like, if you want to get the full Kubrick experience.
Yeah. I used to be a Clockwork Orange kind of guy.
I do love Clockwork Orange.
I'm a Barry Lyndon guy.
Yeah, no, Barry Lyndon is like the big surprise. Like, that's probably a Kubrick movie that most people have. I feel like Paths of Glory and this, and like,
it was shot with candlelight, the whole movie.
It's so gorgeous.
But it's
and I'm not one to usually like stuffy period pieces, and that one's so good.
I can't get into 2001.
Really?
Yeah, well, I will say that I didn't like it at all until I watched it here at the theater, actually. Seeing it in theater made a massive difference.
Yeah.
This movie I highly recommend. Mm-hmm. I do have a hesitation, actually, similar to 2001, where you might want to just wait and watch it in the theater.
Yeah, I know what you. I feel like Kubrick in general.
We're going to have to show it here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. So.
Post-coronavirus quarantine.
Kubrick.
Kubrick week.
Kubrick extravaganza. Yeah. And finally, we're going to be talking about The Traitor, which is an Italian film from 2020. It takes place in 1980s Italy and follows the takedown of the Cosa Nostra, which is the Italian mafia. The film focuses around Tommaso Buscetta, and he is hiding out in Brazil, is eventually extradited to Italy after the death of some of his quite literally immediate family, and he does decide to sort of give a tell-all when he is questioned. So with that confession, it then becomes, is he a traitor, is he not, and then what are the consequences that he's going to have to face now that he has sort of sold out everybody, or is he just being a man of honor, as he says over and over throughout the film. So let's watch some clips.
Anzi, le rispondo prima ancora che leva la faccia. Non ho mai trafficato droga. È inutile che me lo chieda. Le voglio raccontare questa cosa. Io ero giovanissimo, avrò avuto 16 anni, appena affiliato, e il mio capomandamento mi ordina di uccidere una persona. E io lo aspettavo davanti alla chiesa. Si sente in pericolo? Sì, mi sono abituato, ormai. Ma vedi, non è tanto quello che è Tommaso Buscetta, è che io sono diventato un mito. Ed è questo mito che Cosa Nostra vuole distruggere.
I don't know. I didn't like this that much. I didn't have fun. Well, I don't know. When I think of I guess as an American, when I think of a mafia movie, you know, I think of Scorsese and Coppola, and that's what I'm used to. And I think that sort of stereotype and over-the-top version of what I'm used to was definitely not what was seen here. So I think that it was definitely a much more historically based kind of mobster movie. I felt like I was reading the Wikipedia article about.
It was too realistic?
Yeah. It was like too just like, this is what happened. It was just people sitting around talking, saying what happened. I'm like, can you just show me instead? Like, I don't know. It was just too much talking. 2.5 hours. It's a lot to.
But that's short for Scorsese or Coppola. Though.
Yeah, but Scorsese, but they make it interesting. I don't know.
I mean, maybe I think it's trying to be honest with it.
Well, no, exactly. I think so. And I'm saying I don't think that's what I'm looking for.
Maybe you're not cut out to be a gangster.
No, I don't think I am.
I thought it was interesting because you mentioned Coppola and Scorsese. Two things I would say is like Godfather 2. There was a lot of courtroom drama in that movie. Very dry courtroom.
I mean, like, it's classic. I just prefer Scorsese.
We have a mic, so we did hear that.
I know.
But
no.
I mean, The Godfather is the ultimate mafia movie.
I just prefer Scorsese mafia to Coppola mafia.
Okay.
Personally.
I mean,
it's just more fun. That's what I want. I just want fun.
You want every movie to be like Goodfellas.
Not every. I mean, you know, not every. Because I think like The Irishman is a drier, less fun, more depressing version, but still has a lot of emotion, and it's still really like this had like no emotion in it for me.
The Irishman had no emotion in it.
You haven't finished it, so
yeah, because I'm on like set number 8 of trying to pile through that garbage.
I watched it in one sitting and cried a bunch, so it was.
I'm struggling.
Right.
Do you think if this story was part of our history, like it was a major moment in U.S. history, like Jimmy Hoffa,
Right.
or something like that, do you think you'd be more into this movie?
Probably. I mean, probably, just because I would be more, but just like 80, I feel like I had no entry point into like understanding. Like 80s Italy is not a culture or a time period or history. Like I don't have any background, so if there was anything about class or other like nuanced subtlety, like I'm not gonna get those basically.
This is purely intellectually based. What would you do in this situation if you were him? I mean, my issue is I didn't like him.
Yeah.
I didn't
like I didn't really care about anybody in the movie that much.
The way they set it, the setup was so long. It was a really slow setup.
Yeah.
And you didn't get attracted to his friends, him,
Right.
his wife, his kids.
Yeah.
So would you recommend The Traitor?
No, I wouldn't say so. It doesn't feel accessible to me.
Yeah, I wasn't that excited about this film either. I could do without it.
Yeah. Maybe if it was like a 90-minute movie, because like I can do a Wikipedia article of a movie in 90 minutes. Like that's okay. Like, but 2.5 hours, I just felt like I could have read about this whole situation quicker and kind of wish that I would have just done that instead.
Yeah.
So, because it's definitely an interesting premise, like situation, I guess. It's just not, I feel like they don't really do anything with it.
But you should see it at Row House Online this week. Not playing until April 16th.